5% when you buy 68 or more OSB sheathing. Plus, get an extra 5% off every day on eligible purchases when you use your Lowe's Business Credit Card. Get low prices on the materials you need today, because Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. 5% offer subject to credit approval. Exclusions and terms apply. See store at Lowe's.com/credit for details. U.S. only.
WHBC AM Canton. Reliable as ever. Powered by Friends and Family Credit Union. It's time to bring a friend into the family. On News Talk 1480 WHBC.
Live from the studios of News Talk 1480 WHBC. It's Kenny and JT.
And each and every Friday at this time, how lucky are we as we get to chat with a Hall of Famer, courtesy of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and their residency program. And this week coming in from the class of 2020, Steeler fans out there, here we go, Steelers, here we go. He knows. Donnie Shell joining us today. How are you, Donnie?
Doing great, guys.
Good to see you again. We were talking out in the lobby. We met a couple of years ago when you were in town, I think, with Isaac Bruce to coach the high school all-star game.
That's correct. We had a great time.
Yeah, and now they've got you back in town as part of this residency program where when you're up for the induction ceremony, your time's very limited. Well, you've been here for a few days. Tell us where you've been and how much fun you're having with this.
Oh, we went to the high school here. Name of the high school away? McKinley High School, yeah. They spoke to them yesterday. Went on to Stark
State College?
Hunger Task
Force.
Yes.
Nice.
And we've been to so many restaurants. We've been to a bunch of the restaurants around town, so we're making our rounds.
It's really a neat idea, and the concept is fantastic. We were speaking before, and just to have you in and around town. And, Kenny, I hope you can control yourself. He might be the biggest Steeler fan that you ever met. So as you were showing us your Pro Football Hall of Fame ring when you got inducted as a 4-time Super Bowl champion. Those rings are similar, but not like this. So my question's got to be to this. We like talking about jewelry. You have a favorite out of those 4 Super Bowl rings?
First one.
The first one is the one?
Very sentimental. The Steelers hadn't won a championship in 40 years. So I always remember the first one.
It was so amazing because we were looking over the history and the records. And the Steelers, especially when you guys ushered in an era, they left all the losing behind. And they've been winning pretty much ever since. When you go back and visit the teams of this era, they look at you guys, they got to be looking at like the superstars of the day. You guys started the entire franchise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Don't be modest. It's true. When it's a fact, it's true, right?
It is true. And but when we go back, we always come together and do different things out in the community. Likewise, like I'm doing here this week. We just fall right back in place, man, like we never been separated from each other.
I read it earlier, and I don't know if you saw recently with the NFL draft, Bill Belichick was an analyst, right, since he's not coaching now this year. And he said, they were asking him about draft classes, and he said, there is no better draft class in the history of the National Football League than the 74 draft when the Steelers took Lynn Swann in the first round, Jack Lambert in the second round, John Stallworth in the fourth, Mike Webster in the fifth, and you were an undrafted rookie free agent, but you're part of that rookie class as well. That's, let me do my math, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Hall of Famers in one draft class. Did you have any idea, or at what point maybe is a better way to put it, that the guys you came in with were something special?
I had no idea. We were just so glad to be together and play together and spend time together. And then, when you win Super Bowls and the next year, you're looking at the next year because you got to go and compete again. Mm-hmm. But not until I retired, I look back, and I really can understand what you're saying over there.
Donnie, when you speak to the high school kids and they see a gold jacket come through and they're in the shadow of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they may or may not remember who Donnie Shell was. Kenny and I obviously do because we remember watching you play on a weekly basis, sometimes more than a week because if you get those Monday night games, we get 2 for 1. But, I mean, talk about your path to the NFL when a kid is sitting there saying, you know what, maybe I want to be an NFL player, or better yet, at some point in time, I want to consider myself good enough to maybe be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. Talk about your path to the NFL.
Yeah, my path came, I was a linebacker in college, outside linebacker, and Bill Nunn projected me as a NFL strong safety.
Okay.
He was a scout in the scouting department, and I went to South Carolina State University, a historical black college, and Bill had a lot of relationships with the head coaches in the HBCUs. But I told the young football players yesterday, but you got to have a plan. You got to have a goal. I said, you got to control the things you can control. I told them that I was going to be the best conditioned athlete in Steeler camp. I was going to be the smartest athlete in Steeler camp. That means you got to study, guys. Mm-hmm. And no one was going to out-hustle me. I was going to get 110% on everything I did. So that was my mantra.
Okay.
And it obviously worked out for you. And to be part of that defense, which is considered, hey, they can have the 85 Bears, sorry. You can have any other defense. Give me the steel curtain, the linebackers, and you part of that secondary with guys like Mike Wagner, right? Glenn Edwards, J.T. Thomas, and, of course, Hall of Famer looks like he can still play like you, Mel Blount. I mean, what was it like being – because that's your room, right? The secondary room. So you guys are spending a lot of time together. What was that like being in that room, and how much did you learn from those guys?
I learned a great deal when I first got here, my rookie year, especially from Mel and JT, because they were starting, and they taught me a whole lot. They taught me how to read routes, and I was the nickel back, became the nickel back on third downs. I wasn't starting, but I came in on third downs, so I had the slot. And I didn't know this either. JT said, man, we appreciate you because most people don't know most corners flip-flop because you don't have another guy to come in and cover the slot.
Right.
But we never had to because you would always play the slot. You allowed Mel and I to stay on that same side. So I didn't realize that until he said it either.
That's a heck of a defense. I mean, that's when you know you got talent. Who was the toughest guy to cover when you were playing?
I had a few of them. Isaac Curtis from Cincinnati was tough. Ozzie Newsome, tight end. Russ Francis, tight end. I mean, they were like wide receivers.
Yeah.
But that was a few.
Last week we had Dr. Doom in with us, Robert Brazil. Oh, you're laughing, so you know. He was boisterous and colorful. And
He's a hoot.
That's a nice way of putting it, right? So, and he talked, when we asked him a similar question, he talked about the battles that the Oilers and the Steelers had, AFC championship games, and we asked him, who was the toughest guy you had to deal with? And he surprised us. He said it was Rocky Bleier. He said he had battles with Rocky that were legendary, and he knew, and Rocky knew when they met, it was going to be a war out there. And so, and there's another guy that's not in the Hall. That's how great that team was, right? The role players were even good. That a Hall of Famer like Robert Brazil is talking about Rocky Bleier.
Exactly. We were kind of stacked because if someone got hurt, the next guy came in and started. And
right.
It wasn't any fall off or anything. So you have to be on your P's and Q's and keep up with what you're doing because if not, the second guy would take your position.
So we're going back from the 70s into the 80s, and we knew that y'all used to practice hard. So if he had a hard time with Rocky Bleier, who'd you have a hard time with on your own team?
Franco Harris.
A little bit.
Benny Kite.
Oh, Big Ben, number 89.
6'5", Larry Brown, when he switched from he was a tight end when I first got there. He switched to tackle. Oh, awesome. Benny was so huge. He's about 6'6", man, about 280. And when he turned around and do a hook in the end zone, you couldn't get around him. I tried to knock the ball down, but I couldn't get around him.
So, I mean, in today's day and age, they go 14 times, I believe, they go hard in practice 14 times for the entire season at practice at an NFL camp. You guys are doing it every day.
Every day, padded up twice a day.
Wow.
Twice a day.
Wow.
2 days, twice a week. We had our rookie year because we had a strike. We went 6 weeks of 2 days.
Oh, damn.
Okay. Who was better, the defense or the offense in those great Steeler teams?
Wait, come on now.
Come on now.
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
Was it the offense? The defense was better?
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
We're going to have Lynn Swann in here in 2 weeks, and you know I'm going to ask him that question.
Yeah, well, he's a little biased on the offensive side.
Donnie Shell in studio with us, Steelers great Hall of Famer from the class of 2020, talking about his time. And you played your entire career with Pittsburgh. How important was that to you that you didn't go anywhere else. You were a Steeler when you signed, and you were a Steeler when you retired.
Yeah, amen. I'm still a Steeler.
There you go.
It was great. It's great being on one team, and that's what my wife was concerned about. He said, "What if you get traded?" I said, "I'm not getting traded.
Yeah.
Steelers, I'll go back. We'll make it. We'll be all right." But it was great being there. You get familiar with the ownership. The Rooney family was very community-minded. That's how I'm over here this week, part of it, because they were out in the community helping other people.
All right. He asked what was better, the offense or the defense. I'm going to ask you this. 74, 75, 78, or 79. Which of those 4 Super Bowl teams was the best team?
I think 74, my rookie year. I mean, I think we held Minnesota to 30 yards, 40 yards rushing in the Super Bowl.
Right.
We ended up winning the Super Bowl.
16-6. They only scored on a block punt, right? Bobby Walden got the punt blocked in the end zone.
Yeah, we spotted them too.
Yeah. And you mentioned Larry Brown, who became an offensive lineman. He got a touchdown in that Super Bowl as a tight end back in the day.
He did. That's a great athlete.
Yeah, I mean that. You look back at their ability to replace, like the original Steel Curtain, right? Ernie Holmes, LC, Dwight and Joe, and then John Banaszak gets in there, Steve Furness, and the ability of that organization to, when guys retired or were traded, to replace, but yet stay at such a high level. Was that because of Chuck Noll?
I think it was because of the scouting department.
Okay.
And one guy in particular, Bill Nunn, because he had the inroads to the HBCU schools, and no other scout was building relationships in the HBCUs. And I think a lot of the team was calling him about other players in the HBCU schools, and I think he had a lot of effect on that.
That's amazing, too, because South Carolina State is where you played, right?
That's correct.
So there has to be some level of doubt concerning you're not drafted. Was there ever a point in time where you said, man, I don't think the NFL is going to come calling?
No, because initially that was my goal. My goal was to be a teacher and a coach like my high school coach. Okay. So I had graduated and had my degree, and football was just – it just opened.
Okay.
I wasn't planning on playing NFL because I wanted to be a coach and a teacher. But it opened up, so I took advantage of it. But one thing about the people at South Carolina State, I was telling the guy who wanted to interview me one time, he said, don't you know you're a long shot to make the team because you're an undrafted free agent? I said, mister, you haven't heard, have you heard of South Carolina State University Bulldog tenacity? Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't give up. We don't quit. We keep grinding and keep grinding and keep grinding until we get our goal.
So when you got there, when did you know that the goal was attainable? When you got to the Steelers in 74, now all of a sudden you're like, hey, I think I'm going to make this. This is going to work.
I didn't know it was attainable, but everything I did, like I had a philosophy, best conditioned athlete, smartest athlete, and the 110%.
Hard work.
So I stood out on the special teams. Guys running 4-3s and 4-4s could not beat me down. I was the first guy down on the special team, on the kickoff team. And Coach Noble's actually said, well, wait a minute. Cut the film. I said, hey, you guys will be 4-4s. What happened? This guy's beating you down there. So
Kenny, it's the same thing Leroy Butler told us. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Got to impress the coaches somehow, right?
That's how I made it. Exactly.
And they're talking about you, and that leads to other things, right? Donnie, as I look back growing up as a kid in Pittsburgh watching you guys play, there's that debate of who's the greatest Steeler of all time. And you mentioned Bill Nunn, who drafted all you guys or signed you guys. He's a Hall of Famer as well as a contributor in 2021. I wanted to look up his class. I knew he was. Joe Green, right? The Steel Curtain was started, anchored by number 75, Joe Green, and then he becomes Mean Joe Green, right? He's still with us. God bless him. What was he like as we saw him as a player and how nasty he could be, throwing helmets, footballs, kicking guys, punching. Hey, he get triple team. He didn't care. He took on the whole team if he had to. What was he like as a teammate?
He was a great leader, man. When I got there, I made the team on the special teams. I think they named me the special team captain. I had the honor of walking out the field every game with Joe Green.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he played so with such intensity and with such determination. I said, man, if I ever start, I want to have that same intensity. He made us better.
Leaders lead, right?
There you go.
Yeah, and that's why, as good as Bradshaw and Harris, yourself and Mel, that's the guy that's, you know, if you're talking Mount Rushmore, the first guy that's up there for the Steelers is Joe, isn't it?
No question. He set the tone. I first got there, I heard about him on TV, and I saw him on TV and everything. I said, oh, man, he talking about Joe Green. Joe Green this, Joe Green that. I said, oh, man, I don't think he's that good. We came in, we played the Cleveland Brownies up in Cleveland. This guy rushed the pass to start rush the pass. You see, he couldn't get there. So, you know, they got the zone blitz now. I think he invented it. So he dropped back in the zone and intercepted the pass and running for a touchdown. Saw he couldn't make it. Larry back to J.T. Thomas, who scored. I said, okay, you good.
Yeah. There's something about you. You're all right. Yeah.
You know, we could talk about the other players. We could talk about the ownership, which they've done a fantastic job in the last, I don't know how many years they've been above or at 500. Talk about Coach Noel and how great he is, because, you know, every now and then everybody wants to talk about Bill Belichick's greatest of all time, but you look at a guy with a resume and 4 Super Bowls. To me, a lot of it, and you said you wanted to be a coach. Talk about Coach Noel.
He's a great coach, great communicator. I think he's the best coach of all time because he had a good feel for the team. He knows exactly what to say to motivate you and to do what was right. Another thing I liked about him, because I never had a coach in Pee Wee ball, high school ball, college that wasn't a good teacher. He thrived on getting guys that could teach us the fundamentals of football. You got to be fundamentally sound. You're gonna play for Coach Noel, and you couldn't make it. You couldn't make many mistakes on this team, because you're gonna lose the game. He said, because you make mental errors, you're gonna get beat. You beat yourself. So I learned a lot from him.
Amazing.
Yeah. Again, 4 Super Bowls in 6 years, and the 2 years you didn't win, one because of injuries, right? You guys suffered a boatload, and you were down to, was it Reggie Harrison, who was the feature back, maybe, right, against Oakland? And if you're healthy, what are we talking? 5 in 6 years, maybe 6 in 6 years.
Another one, because we was humming real good. We lost 2 of our backs in the playoff game. I guess it was Baltimore. I think it's Baltimore.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember that game, and the 1 year, the defense, what did y'all pitch, like 5 shutouts in 6 games in order just to get in the playoffs because of all the injuries?
That's correct. We started out 1-4, and we have about 4 or 5 shutouts in a row.
Unreal.
Think about that.
Yeah.
0 points, no lucky bounces or trick plays, 0 points, and they knew that you had to carry because the offense was so banged up.
That answered my question, which was better, the offense or the defense? You were right. It was the defense.
Don't let Swan influence you otherwise when he come in. Tell him I said so.
Since we're in Ohio, Bengals, Browns, right? 2 teams in Ohio, rivals. Browns a little more than the Bengals, but still, your recollections. You mentioned Joe intercepting the 1 ball against the Browns, but just your thoughts on playing against those 2 teams and what the rivalries were like.
I had good memories because I intercepted Brian Sight 3 times when we played him. But it was always a battle. It was always a battle when we came up here, man. And one time I think the score was 51-53 or 5.
Jeez.
And I thought Coach Noel was going to fire everybody. But anyway, we always had good competition in competitive games.
Yeah, those were great times and helped stoke the rivalry even more, and it's continued on through this day. When you watch today, could you have played under today's rules?
Yeah, I think any great athlete, a good athlete, will adjust to the rules that handed down. That's what they did when they instituted the Mel Blunt rule. You can't chuck a guy after 5 yards, so you make the adjustment. So I think the great athletes will adjust.
All right, you just mentioned Mel, another Hall of Famer from that team. They changed the game because of him, because of how dominant he was and physical he was at the line of scrimmage, right? I mean, what's that? I mean, right there, that's Hall of Fame worthy there, isn't it, that they changed the game because you're too good?
I would assume so. He did just that.
And he looks fantastic today. He's still wearing the cowboy hat.
I was up a couple weeks ago at his fundraiser for Mel Blunt's Youth Home. Yeah, he's I think 76. He's like he's 36.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And again, we go back to that team and how good it was. And it seemed like Terry was able to take chances throwing to Swanee and Stallworth, because if it got intercepted, and you look at his numbers, 212 to 210 touchdowns to interceptions, almost even, right? But he knew that, all right, if I threw a pick, no big deal. You guys were going to stop the opposition and just give me the ball back and give me another chance. Was that kind of the mindset?
It was. We're going to give the ball back. I told Star, we're going to get it back. But you got to score the next time you're out there. But they did. They punched it in.
Yeah. Bradshaw, what was he like as a teammate and going against him in practices?
Brad was a very comical guy, man. You all know you got to see that side.
You ever sing to you?
No. Not allowed in the locker room. But Brad was a hoot. He's the hoot. Now that's another hoot.
Yeah.
But he was just himself, man. He was down from Louisiana, and he was just himself. He wasn't changing for anyone. But a great athlete, man. And he could scramble and get away from people.
Well, he did so on the Immaculate Reception, right? I mean, that
sure did.
That was, something right there that, before your time, but still, you see that.
I was looking right at him. And I saw it right on TV.
Yeah. So he and I were wondering, South Carolina State, right? You're wondering if you're going to get to play, who's going to draft you in the NFL. How much did you know about Pittsburgh and the Steelers team at that time?
Nada.
Other than that play, maybe.
No,
right?
nope. Didn't know anything about Pittsburgh.
And once you did, it's your second home, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And Canton's your third. You got 3 homes. You got 4 homes. South Carolina, where you're from, Pittsburgh,
right.
Canton, and now North Carolina, right?
That's right. You're right. Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, Donnie, we appreciate you coming in. And before we let you get out of here, when you think back, is there a most memorable game, a most memorable play that stands out in your mind from your 14 seasons with the Steelers?
Yes, when I got my 51st interception, I think it was against Detroit in Three Rivers Stadium. That stands out to me.
Why so? I mean, that's a huge number.
Yeah, well, that's why. That's why, and it was kind of unheard of because they weren't passing the ball with the frequency that they are doing it today.
How were you able to come up with those numbers during a time where there wasn't one running back taken in the first 2 rounds this year, right? Back then when you played, it was about running to set up the pass. Now it's vice versa. So how were you able during a running period in the NFL to pick off 51 passes?
My mantra, if you got about my mantra, best conditioned athlete, 100%, and the smartest. I studied the tape.
And what did you see on film that made you one of the best safeties to ever play in the NFL?
Well, studying tape make you play faster. You've seen the play before. It's down in distance, and you know where they're going to run. In my mind, in the goal line, you don't have a certain amount of plays you can run down there,
right?
With any team. Mm-hmm. And then once I started seeing the play develop, I'm gone. I used to have run support. Chuck knows say get 2 to 3 yards across the line of scrimmage. So I saw the run coming. So I'm 2 or 3. I know where it is. I'm 2 or 3 yards across the line of scrimmage.
Outwork, outsmart, outplay. It's like Survivor, right? Outwit, outsmart, outplay everybody.
Yeah. What goes through your mind when you come back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame and you see all the changes going on there?
Oh, I think it's amazing, man. Mm-hmm. It's amazing because I know it's going to be a benefit to the community as well.
Yeah, sure.
So Jim Porter's doing an excellent job. With the residency program, I think it's one of the best programs that he could have created because it gets us back. We have time now to do interviews with you guys and go to the malls and go to the restaurants and speak to kids in school. So it's great. It's wonderful.
Does it ever shock you how big of a fan base the Pittsburgh Steelers have in this area when you come to Canton, Ohio?
It does. Jim and I was talking about that for lunch today. He said it's amazing the Steelers fans that are here. But they do come support us.
Well, I've been telling Kenny this. We've been noticing this for the last, I don't know how many years. And I'm not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He is. But I look at it, and you don't have to like them, but you have to respect them due to the fact that they're playing in the postseason almost on a regular basis. They've got all those Lombardi trophies. But I look at it as when you were playing, people used to consider Dallas Cowboys America's team. I think it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, don't you?
Yes, but Mel Blount would disagree with it. As you're talking about Dallas, they ain't no American team.
Well, you know what I mean. But I mean, that's what they were calling. Yeah. You know, everybody wanted to be the Dallas. They liked their uniforms. Everybody wanted their. If you could get it back then, we couldn't buy gear. There were none of these Fanatics or any of these nice shirts and stuff like we've got on today. If you got something from the Pittsburgh Steelers when you were a kid, could you find a Steelers shirt?
It took a while, right? It wasn't as easy.
Yeah, but we didn't want to be America's team. We want to be the Steelers.
Okay.
Yep. They're Pittsburgh's team.
Stillers.
There you go. There you go. Donnie Shell, our guest. And I do have to ask you this. We talked about, it just popped back into my head, the 5 shutouts the one year when you were with the Steelers after you started 1-4. Did I read, is it Whitmire High School is where you played?
Whitmire High School, yes.
Did you guys not give up a touchdown the entire season?
That is correct.
For the whole year?
That's correct.
Nobody scored on you?
Nope. The Wolverines, baby. Fight to your death. You're done. That's what look it up. That's what Wolverine does. He fights until the death.
Yeah.
I read that and I'm like, oh, that can't be true. So I wrote it down.
I'm verified. Yes, it is.
Jake, the whole year.
That's amazing.
Not
anybody else
touchdown.
on that team that we know of? I mean, that either made it big college or into the NFL?
No, most guys just kind of went to college and went on with their lives. But we had tremendous defensive team. I used to love it.
But that's a great reunion too.
Oh yeah.
Well, and then in college you did play with a Hall of Famer though, right? Harry Carson.
Oh yeah, Harry, defensive end. I was a linebacker.
What was Harry like for you? Because I thought you deserved to be in a long time ago. He gets in, I think, 2000 or 2001. Was he in your saying, hey, it's coming? Or did you talk to him? I mean, was there ever?
Oh, yeah, we talked about it. I said, just got to be patient. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And it'll happen in due time. Sometimes people get in a hurry about things, but I'm not in a hurry about anything because I know God is in control. If he has that for you, then it's going to be. But some things you got to wait on. And that's what it taught me. It taught me to be patient, wait. I said, Lord, if you give it to me, I'm gonna come back and help people in the community, and that's what I'm doing.
We love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And when you found out, was it a phone call? Which one were you? Phone call or knock on the door?
It was a phone call.
Okay,
from David Baker, and I hung up on him twice.
What?
The number came up and it said in California. I said, what the heck is
that's right.
They soliciting. They talking
right.
Click. California, click. My son said, hey, that baby David Baker. I said, third time, hello, Mr. Baker?
So you hung up on him twice, and he's trying to tell you you're in the Hall of Fame.
That's a great story.
That's awesome. And you know what? I can't think of a better way to end than that, right? That's fantastic. Donnie Shell, good to see you back again. Thanks for making time for us here at WHBC, and continued success in everything that you do. Enjoy your time here this week, and we'll see you back in August, too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And everybody come out and support the Hall of Fame because they're good people, and the people in the community is good and supporting and volunteering. So we got this resident program that I'm real excited about.
Yeah, great to have you to be a part of it. There he is, Donnie Shell, checking in with us here on the Kenny and JT Show. We'll get a break in right now. Come back with more. Stay with us.
The Roadman and JT on 1480 WHBC.
WHBC AM 10, reliable as ever on News Talk 1480